what I would like us to be doing is explore this notion of maybe art and science, and maybe in the context of children. So when we think of art and when we think of science, so which shall we take first? What comes to our mind? What is art or what is science? Which shall we take up?
What is science?
Okay, science. The age of science or something like that. Okay. So, all right, let me try. So what kind of, if we use adjectives or qualifiers or characteristics of science, what do you say?
Objective.
Oh, bang on. I had to think for a day and a half before I said objectivity would come. Okay. So by now you probably got the sense of why I put some things in the middle, right? And I didn't completely disagree when you said the word, but method, someone first associated with art, and then you said it's science. Definitely, the first thing that we think of science is methods, and there have been famous arguments about, is there something like the scientific method? There's an entire book which, if you have nothing better to do in life, you could spend time reading. Argument between one of them is Faraben, the other one I forget who, arguing about, is there a method of science? But in school we had definitely said there is a scientific method. But then Karthik said method in art. So what do you mean by method there?
Specifically techniques.
Yeah. Right. So when I was actually, I did have something called techniques. Now, so I think they are related. You don't have to worry too much, and you definitely are not going to be quizzed on this. So yeah, technique is there in both of these. If you like, I think some of you are my fellow teachers, so if you use a word from Bloom, I think we would use a word like skill. So yeah, so method, technique, skill are there in both of these, right? So it's interesting. We probably have, when we think of art and science, we might think of them as very divergent, especially the objective, subjective aspects of it. So reliable, you could also say, I would like to suggest that science likes to work with, thank you, science likes to look at what are called as generalizable things or universals, right? So I'll just use the word universals here. The color change doesn't mean anything except that we have something that writes better now. And here you could say particular, you could also say it's kind of related to the subjectivity aspect and the expressive aspect.
But I think we can't deny the universal aspect in art when it comes to the philosophical, and when you see the philosophical angle of it. I mean, here universal in science is more like factual, where in art universal is more philosophical at the same time. Like what is, like when we think of like human or humanity, or the essence of humanity, when we come to essence of anything, so in science essence is more like how it emerged, like from where it comes, and where in essence in art is more like the essence of in a philosophical way. So that universal aspect I think fits very well in
art as well. That's interesting. Okay, so and I think that's a really interesting thought to think about. So when you say, or when I say science is universal, what I had in mind, I'll explain, and I think we will try and see where your thought is coming from. So if we say that water can be split up into hydrogen and oxygen, and 2 parts of hydrogen to 1 part of oxygen, and we can actually do that wherever you want, it's always going to come up the same way. No matter where you do it, whether you take Ganga water or you take water from the Danube, or you take, do it in Seattle or do it in Bangalore, you are going to end up with 2 parts of water and 1 part of oxygen, right? And that's what I meant when I said science is universal. Whereas right behind you, I don't see any other, is a work of art, and the validity, and now I'm using a different notion of validity. The validity of that work of art is precisely that's the only one, right? I mean, if we have copies, we are no longer very interested in as art, right? So in that sense is what I meant is the particular and the unique nature, right?
I think here we are going in the productivity of it. If we go in the context of it, and like if I connect with your thing only what you said, this water example, which is more informative. So here in science, there is information which applies like universally. In art, the element of in art is about questions, like the question. Making a question raising a kind of question which can be a universal question. So that's what I was when I was saying provocative. So it's like building a question or questioning something.
Yeah. So have you finished? I should have Yeah, I think it's very interesting because that was yet another area where you said questioning. If I might, I would use something which is common to both, and we can actually talk of each of these aspects. But when you said questioning, you wanted to put it here, right? But inquiry is also common to both. I mean, both are inquiries. Your science is an inquiry and your art is an inquiry. And for some reason we have, when we move towards disciplinary understanding, we kind of like to think that these are 2 different modes of inquiry. But I think what you're making is a deeper point, you can help me understand it, is now art is universal in the sense that probably every culture has an artistic or an aesthetic component, right? And the problem with the art is, although classical theories of art will disagree, and we may or may not be able to go into that, but if you look at classical Indian art, if you read the shastras which are there in performative art, which is the Natya shastras, or you look at the Shilpa shastras where it is sculpture, they are kind of trying to define a universal aesthetic. This is the way you ought to do it. This is the way, but yet a performance is a unique performance, right? Even though you have a rule that tells you the raga, your singing the raga and me singing the raga, we'll do the same saptaswaras or the aroha, avroha and the particular characteristics, but your interpretation might be quite different from mine if we are both really good at it. In the beginning, we will just be stuck with the technique, right? We'll just have to repeat and repeat and repeat. But finally, then you transcend it. Very similar to when we teach, because I'm speaking to a lot of teachers here. I think that's something which is common to teach. So in fact, when I do a course on, sorry for digressing, and you please pull me back. I do teach or used to do a course on teachers and teaching, and one of the interesting things we should talk is what is teaching? Is it closer to art or is it closer to science? So that's something that we have had very interesting conversations in the class about whether teaching is more like an art or is it more like a science. And then we look at this question, what is really art and what is really science? right? So in that sense, yes, art too, there is a universality to art, as in, I mean, you can understand art. You go to a particular place, you go to, say, Aboriginal Australia, and you can see what is a work of art. You may not like it. You may think, hey, this is nothing like what we have in Khajuraho or something like that. But you can recognize it as art, right? And vice versa. So that way, I do think there's a universality to it. But it's a different notion of universality than the notion that we find in science. That's about all people kind of probably want to look at it, but we can, explore it a little more if others are interested in this notion. We'll get quite philosophical as we go along. So this whole notion of, and I think I wanted to connect it to our work that we do. This whole notion of the expressive and the subjective part is, I think, what is important to us when we look at art in the context of teaching, either art for its own sake or for teaching science using art. Now, why do I say that? I think for a young child, and even for us, in our minds, before the school people have got in and messed up with our minds and basically broken our minds into bits and pieces and saying, I'm good at science, I'm bad at sports, I love mathematics, I hate history, and basically completely fragmented our minds. We're kind of whole, right? And I mean, that's why my school is actually called Purna. So that means holistic. And when a young child is doing something, its inquiry is happening, and I will hope to share an example in a very messy way because of whatever reasons. The child is inquiring, and the child is not yet inquiring it scientifically or aesthetically, but the child is inquiring holistically, and I think that's very important for us to think about. And I want to give you an example. You can probably look at little Anya's drawing. Anya, I'll leave there. Oh, you can paper achi. No? Okay, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. So this is one example. So, yeah. So this is done by a 3.5-year-old. And what you see in it, you could pass it around because the original is in an A4 sheet, and it was similar to a situation like this. A child with a set of the normal watercolors that they have and brush, and she was like allowed to do it. So yeah, you said you saw expression. What do you think she might be expressing?
Playing with colors and splashing.
Yes, playing with colors and splashing. Okay. Anybody else?
Pattern.
Yeah.
Patterns.
Sense of direction is also.
Sense of direction is also there.
Seeing the same form, different colors, maybe similarities
Yeah.
between them and differences.
Yeah. Okay, so I actually watched the child do this, and she was completely absorbed in this activity. And for me, probably you should also know that for the longest time I've been teaching science or teaching about teaching science, which is a pathetic thing to reach. But so it looked like almost like a scientific inquiry. She was completely absorbed. She would very methodically, pick the brush, choose one, and then do it on it, and then do it. So she's kind of, we don't know. I mean, they're not very verbal at that stage, and I think it's may or may not be there. They did a lot of it, but not all the time you want to enter into a child's mind. It's nice to do it, but it's also rather intrusive, right? Yes, it's rather intrusive to do that kind of theatrical deep down into a child's mind. Yeah, so it seemed to me like almost like a scientific inquiry. This child is systematically working through the palette, just seeing what happens with each round of it, right? I'm not sure she was already taught the names of the colors, but she's just inquiring like what happens before she even chooses to express herself. What came out looks very interesting. It's got a pattern, it's appealing. So there's the universal part of art. I mean, to most of us, I would imagine, there is an appeal to this. You don't have to agree, but there is that as well. So we don't know what is actually working the child's mind, but here is an inquiry that is coming from both directions, right? From the art side and from the child. It's basically the child is experiencing. Probably also look, there is technique as well. The child is just going on. Maybe the next time she would go the other way or do some other, scribby bits, like you can see this child is also working out ideas or actually proto ideas. So that's something I feel we miss out a lot when we formalize education. We do not, there is a third important word somewhere, which let's see if we can arrive at as an audience. But we miss out when I think what I understand, I have not studied Montessori very deeply, but even Montessori tries to systematically do it, and I'm not sure whether you want everything to be so systematic, because there is a system already built in our heads and our bodies, a system that is older than us, right? The system that we evolved with, our thinking and our cognitive structures, and therefore, the space for a child, and I'm not saying this only categorizing, there is a child in each of us, right? Very often, and I've been accused, and I don't know, I've been at this point maybe invited to share, I've been accused, even to this day, that I will end up playing with, I will be kneading atta and making chapati, and suddenly I will be playing with the dough. Yeah, I mean, I can play with shapes when you're making dosa, so I was accused when I was raising my children that you enjoy it more than them because you're allowing them to do those things. But it doesn't go away. You have tactile material and you want to explore it, right? Whether it's inquiry, whether it's exploring, whether you're trying to understand it, and not every session do you have to break it up into what am I getting out of it, do I understand it? But then when you read another paper which talks of the special property of dough, surprise, surprise, dough is really unique. Is it solid or is it liquid? It's just moving into a material, dough or clay. So what is it? Tell me, solid or liquid? Bit of both. Semi-solid. Solid. You should do a solid. What's a solid? See, we just neatly shifted from one domain to the other, but very good. What's a solid? It retains its form and do. At a micro level.
No, actually, it's constantly falling. It's constantly moving.
Yes, you just let it sit, it kind of slowly kind of. Yeah, do that, right? Sometimes you think your body is like dough because if you don't watch out and you don't remember your yoga teacher will also there. And then you remember spine up and spine erect, or your muscle tell you something, right? So, yeah. So dough is really interesting material, and they have words for it which I have forgotten. I didn't do that, but glass, incidentally, you learn this, or if you did the same chemistry syllabus as I did in school, which was glass is also supposed to be a liquid. Yeah, because they say that for years and years, if you have this glass on the wall, the bottom gets thicker. After many years, like glass, the bottom gets thicker. So glass is also supposed to be a kind of liquid. Very interesting. If I put a bit of water on the floor, what happens? Drop glass, what happens? We didn't think of that glass that way. All we know is you spill water, somebody else, you spill glass, somebody else even more, right? Yeah, that's the child's experience. It's later than you correct it. And talking of these shades, so Chihuli in America. I mean, he is no more. Chihuli, some people know him, but so Chihuli apparently had some thousands and thousands of shades here. His major expression is with glass, so you have a Chihuli glass museum, etc., etc. But you also have, I mean, the story anecdote of Chihuli is he systematically worked with this paint palette to see how many shades he could create. Something very similar is there in the sensorial and something part. Montessori is where they kind of, the color shades and so on, but he tried to work out how many shades. I forget the exact number, but he's supposed to spend serious adult time doing this. Right? So, I mean, and if you go into the scientific part of it, tell me, do you know anything about color matching? Can you tell me a catchy line? From the scientific part of color matching, the science part. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I'm just looking for. So, have you heard? I mean, maybe outdated because I haven't watched TV for the past 4 or 5 years, and very little before that. But there used to be an ad where a woman, sadly, it is a woman, who suddenly shrieks, "Mera wala green or cream or green." Yeah. Mera wala cream. Yeah. So mera wala cream, and then she's so thrilled. What's the science behind it? Yeah. So now if you for your fussy interior want a particular shade of cream, and our eyes can discern quite a few shades of cream, right? Like the chair you're sitting on, the color of the wall, the whites of our eye, my teeth, not white really. Yeah, a particular shade of whatever color. Yeah, and that shirt. So there are like eyes. And now if I had in the old-fashioned way, I had to mix 1 tub of white paint and something else to arrive at that exact shade of cream. It's a lot of work, right? And then after the poor painter has done it, the woman comes and says, "Nah, that's not the cream I wanted. See, it has to exactly match with whatever she had." And now they do it completely. Huh? Yeah, pigments is what the paints also, what Chiholi also did, what that little girl whose picture I took, she was also working with pigments. But what is the computer doing? Huh? Yeah, so how does it work now? Turns out it's really complex. Because what you perceive as color, that goes into philosophy, so what we perceive as color is an extremely complicated thing. Color isn't even real for that matter. I mean, color is a very particular thing. I mean, if I change the color of these light bulbs, our clothes will look a different color. If you sit in one part of a room, something will look a different shade. So what is color? I would encourage you to find an essay by Bertrand Russell who talked about color. Really brilliant essay on, trying to get at your question of what is the essence of color. Yeah, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, we just don't want to have it all over. Yeah, Bertrand Russell. So color is not even a real thing. What are real according to physicists are electromagnetic waves, right? So each shade is an electromagnetic wave of a particular. Each shade of light is an electromagnetic wave of a particular frequency and wavelength. Yes, thank you. But that story doesn't end there. After that, multiple things happen. That particular wavelength goes through our eyes, goes to the back of our retina, and then goes to the brain. Not one shade, multiple waves, and the brain makes up something called color. And it's a function of three or four different kinds of cells that we have in our eyes, which get stimulated, which basically absorb these and send electrical signals, and that generates the color that you apparently see. And so scientists have worked out something called tri-stimulus data. That is, the particular combination, how much of your cones, so the colors sensitive receptors in our eye are called cones. Please ignore it if this is not of your interest, but just to give you an example. So they have worked it out, and they have worked out what is the stimulus combination that will give you, and they are then able to, go back with it and program the amount of different pigments that you have to mix up to give this, right? And that's the science behind that. And now every shopkeeper apparently has, I think the Asian paints people will tell them for this particular shade, this is the X liter of the base paint, and this is the 2 shades you have to add it into this amount, and then hopefully the lady will be happy. Not only that, our eyes are so sensitive, so you do one patch, you run out of color, and then you do the other patch is not the same, and you can tell. Have you all knitted in the past?
Yes.
So if you run out of wool, it's really difficult to get the wool of the same color, because again the dye and the thing and the it makes the difference. So, and it's not, I mean, it depends on what is your aesthetic sense. You don't want a sweater which is one shade here and then another shade halfway up. Now it may be fashionable actually. Why not? Yeah, and or you can have multiple mixed up colors and so on and so forth. So that this sense of not separating art and science is something that I feel we should, particularly for the younger age group, we should explore, but even at the older classroom. So that's one part of what I wanted to say is that, and if we focus on the expressive part of it, when we are doing a science lab, we do not allow for the expressive part. You have already given them the columns, you exactly tell them what to write about, right? And they have to just put in those keywords in those science columns. Remember your practicals. Did you get a chance to talk about how beautiful that potassium permanganate was, or how lovely that copper sulfate was? Yeah, you never did, right? The teacher was not interested, but part of you is like quite attracted, right? Yes, part of you is quite attracted to that really lovely blue. Yeah, never.
I used to love that blue.
Yes, who doesn't? Who doesn't love that blue? Yeah. And then you will have poetry about your girlfriend with copper sulfate blue eyes. In India, we already have these amber brown, impenetrable black eyes, but still the copper sulfate blue eyes and whatever. It's really interesting to. So why not? Why not? Why are we so unwilling to let that part of us into the science class? And I'm wondering, because maybe a scientist, and if you go back and read, and I have read some really interesting times, the guy who discovered cells, again, not a science class, Leeuwenhoek, yeah, Robert Hooke and Leeuwenhoek. Now, Leeuwenhoek was actually a textile trader, right? And his hobby was to grind these lenses, very perfect lenses, and he discovered these moving creatures in the water, which he called animal cues, right? Moving, it has to be an animal. So the way they classified in Europe this days, when it moves, it's an animal, it doesn't move, but it grows, it's a plant. If it doesn't move at all, it's an inanimate thing, it's a mineral or a non-living. We teach the kids the same thing nowadays. Living, non-living, plant, animal, we follow the same distinction. So he had these things that moved under his lens and he called them animal cues. But his description is very interesting. Darwin likewise. You read Darwin, the origin, they didn't leave themselves out of it. Right? It's modern science which wants to pretend that there is no human behind the discovery. Right? And that, I think, is a problem in science. It's definitely a problem in history. If you pretend, and I have overheard some of the discussions before, if we like to pretend that history is objective by removing the person who's interpreting the whatever text he wrote or whatever, yeah, sure, someone like Tipu did exist, but what do we know about him and how do we know about him? It's very similar to an inquiry in science. What do we know about light and how do we know about it? evidence. So evidence is, but then evidence, we like to, because we want to be sure of the evidence, we like it to be objective, and it's not wrong. It's not wrong. I'm not kind of trying to make a moral sort of argument here. I think evidence is important, and that's, so I'll connect it to your provocative in a bit. So the evidence part of it is important, but then by removing the observer, you have kind of masked a lot of the processes that happen, and that may not really give you very or completely reliable evidence. So more and more people are realizing, and if you go into quantum physics, they are completely, the quantum physicists sound a lot like mad artists, right? They say the observer will change the game. They'll say there is a parallel self. So they say all sorts of things, and they have evidence for it. They're finding evidence for it. But it's really bizarre, right? The observer makes a difference, right? And that's something that the artist already,
The abstraction.
yeah. The abstraction is part of it. You extract only some bits of it. That is true. But when it comes to school, I'm wondering whether, why not allow children to draw their experience in the lab? Why not allow children to write an essay? And art need not only be, paints and colors and so on and so forth. They can as well, write a descriptive essay. They can write things like, he pushed me, and ma'am said this would happen, it didn't happen. And ma'am will often say there should be a brown ring, no brown ring anywhere except around her eyes maybe, and things like that. So why not allow children to, to really experience the world in this kind of holistic thing? And to come to your question, so when you said art was provocative, I want you to say.
Let's say, like if you just take this recent event which happened, this Kunal Kamra thing, like Indigo Ben, he just argued with the so that is coming from a comedian, like the person who's doing it, this gesture, it's coming from a comedian, which is a kind of artistic, connect to the artistic this thing, and he's observing what is happening around, and then he is making a gesture, and that gesture, he is doing an action in a public space, and that in public space that gesture is a kind of performative gesture.
I'm also a provocative.
So, and that the what he is doing in that gesture it provokes. Provoke at the same time it questions the structure, the current structure, the structure of politics, the structure of society, the structure of our comfort. So, and then, so at a particular time that action happened, and then what happens after that? It also opens a dialogue which again questions the current system. So when we say art or a thought or an idea or a gesture is not just limited to that particular time, how it questions and provokes, many other things, and then we get reactions, and then
Yes, I think you have a very comprehensive definition of art, and it's interesting to hear. So the only thing I would like to add is that science also has been equally provocative. If you take the public demonstration that Boyle did of certain aspects, or the way Galileo, or Copernicus started Copernicus, is a huge provocation. You absolutely, overturn what is written and what is accepted in the text as the Earth being the center of the universe. So that's a huge provocation, right? And what happens in probably any established discipline is that people become normalized and we stop this provocative act. And I'm glad that you brought the comedian's art into it. Otherwise, you would have most likely stuck with the painter's art into it. But yeah, comedy is also art. Drama, performative arts are art. And performative classical music, I think T.M. Krishna is a huge provocator. I mean, you will, I hope, agree that we can put provocation, I don't know if I put it or missed it. Yeah, I put it. So provocation can be in the middle. Both you can have provoke from science, you can also provoke from art, and that's part of actually expanding the scope of human inquiry. So provocation is, thank you for that, and I really think that that's the role that both these, the scientists as well as the artists should be playing, right? And before we do a little exercise, I would like to add one more important aspect, which is imagination. Now, if you look, these two really seem to go contrary to each other, right? The factual and the imaginative, right? And yet, I give some examples, you could probably think of more. Scientists have to be imaginative as well. Artists, of course, they are imaginative. I mean, when someone draws, or when Picasso, just split the human features and arrange them, rearrange them differently, that's an act of imagination, right? But scientists equally are imaginative. They are imaginative when they are trying to solve a problem, right? My pet example comes from when the person, somebody called Kekule, in the 18th century, was trying to work out the structure of benzene, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's the story we are handed to us. He was apparently staring into a flame, and at one point the imagination just stuck, right? It was some kind of, when you get out of that, boxed thinking, logical thinking is needed. You need, like Chihuli working out his shades, it's logical, right? But what you do with the shades is the imaginative part. Similarly, when he had this insight and then he had to convert it back into the logic. He had to work that imaginative insight into the logic of what was already known about carbon's bonding, right? So imagination is another area that I think connects both science and arts, and I think again as teachers we need to give a lot of space, and sometimes I'm saddened by even the art class is not very imaginative. Children you might have seen, maybe not in your school, but children have these drawing books which they have to copy, they have spaces which are, they say, color within the thing. I think Montessori also has that, but her idea is to actually develop the technique part of it, right? The control part of it. But there has to be space where the child is able to draw things out of, completely their own way, from their imagination. Or sometimes, and all of you who have observed little children would have, they are drawing and then the imagination comes later. It's very interesting. If you ask them what they are drawing, then they will stop and look at it, and then they will say, this is what I do. It's really interesting. So it's like, and I think as adults that's our role to understand this space of imagination. Likewise, when you have those, a lot of examples come from my own work. So if you've taken a bunch of 10-year-olds into the lab, then imagination, the minute you show them the litmus test, right? Just add, or the phenolphthalein is even more magical. 2 colorless liquids, and then you put one in together, it becomes pink, right? Really nice, bright pink. Then their imagination gets fired up, and then they will start like, what if I mix this with this, and this with this, and this with this? And if you show them something which physics and powers, then of course they want this gigantic explosion. That's it, like dream imagination. They are so fired up. But imagination is very important. And then to give you now, and then after that we will do a little bit of exercise, just a small one. Apparently the movie, I don't know whether it's the movie called Gravity or the movie called Interstellar, I think it's the latter. Interstellar has a scene, I haven't seen it, where they have to imagine some kind of astronomical structure, right? A fifth dimension. And the physicists knew it, they had worked out the mathematics. You have n-dimensional mathematics, my mind stops long before. I mean, I've tried to even imagine the 4th dimension, I cannot. But so, mathematicians, not all of them can imagine, some of them can do. So, the physics people and the art people somehow were talking to the movie. The movie is a nice place, right? You want to get your physics right, but you also want to show it to the audience because it's a visual medium. So you get in your creative director, and this artist could imagine it, and after that the physicists have gone gaga out of it. Now it's all over, now it's official, we don't talk of STEM, that is science, technology, engineering and medicine, we talk of STEAM. The A in STEAM is an art, because they've woken up, the educators have woken up to the fact that art is equally important, and I ascribe it to this. A lot of talk happened after the movie Indira, where they could actually imagine. So now, all of the places in Bangalore, like NCPS, Center for Theoretical Sciences, have very active art-related work also going on, and I think it's a good thing because you need to imagine, right? You need to imagine. And if you want to imagine a better society, that's also part of imagination and kind of history. I'm connecting to history, but I will keep off. Alright, so if there are any one or two responses to this, I will take them, otherwise I will have you draw some.
And this question came up in the history discussion as well, because you're bound by, so like there are so many curricular constraints and things like that, and you're expected to do certain kinds of science in class. So then at higher grades, how does the integration look like? Like what does it look like is wondering.
Yeah. I have no fixed answers, but the more pragmatic side of it is, I know I'm not really answering your question in a very good way, but I've done exercises like, children who I'm not sure have got the concept, I will ask them deliberately to draw a nucleus that they have learned in biology and a nucleus that they have learned in, say, chemistry or physics. And then I realized that they are confused between the same word being used in two different subjects. We've created the boundaries, so we've not allowed them to think, but the child, again, the mind is actually holistic. And the child, you will pick up the confusion, right? The nucleus in what you taught in biology is literally in terms of size, many orders of magnitude bigger than the nucleus that you taught when you teach them about atoms. Like the billions of atoms joined together to make the cell nucleus. So asking them to draw and express sometimes gives you an insight into what's going on, and you can kind of try to get them to visualize things. So a lot of activities like visualizing, even in class 6 or 7, if you're teaching them, the planets, which for most practical purposes, let us assume are kind of rather solid objects, except that Jupiter isn't, but never mind that. So you want them to kind of imagine the relative scale, right? You can ask them to actually do a scale drawing. Now scale drawing, it's very interesting. You can actually, it's not a art part of it, but very often in art you do a scale drawing. That is, you have a grid imposed on one drawing, and then you expand the grid and you are expected to copy the drawing into a bigger scale. And children do it. It's a nice exercise. You can use a similar exercise for them to do a scale model of the planets using the diameter and the thing. You will run out of classroom space actually. By the time you get to Jupiter, you will run out of classroom space. Right? You can also do it with say if the sun is the size of a pumpkin, then relative to the sun, how big is the earth? So these are kind of in between, getting them to think visually, trying to get them to think out of the typical right answer boxes and so on, and there is a lot of value to that. It just actually gets the concept in deeper. It also seems to fire imagination because they will come up with their own things, right? What can we do specifically with the copper sulfate blue? A lot. I mean, just looking at the chemistry of why is heated copper sulfate loses its color, why is it blue, what happens when you dilute it, there's a ton of mixing both things, getting them to understand and so on and so forth. Yeah.
So now more of a comment, I don't know if I have a question, but I think sociology. So in sociology you do a test where you're actually trying to understand the primitive mind, and it's this text called Magic, Science and Religion, where the author argues that science is closer to magic than science is to religion. And that, now that's very, very interesting if you get into the philosophy of science, that how science and magic are so much closer to each other. But I don't know, I don't know how to translate it into a classroom. I'm not a science teacher, but I'm just trying to imagine, can you really translate? Can you make that science class akin to something like magic? I don't know.
As a teacher, I would hesitate to make science into magic because it isn't. I mean, the people who do magic use a lot of science because they use the universality and the repeatability. That's another character. So the predictability. So they use it, but they mask it, right? They mask it because they know that the mirror or the this or the that or the water, all that. I mean, I've done it. When I want to get my naughty teenagers pay attention, I will do science like magic. I will do it. But then my job is to now let's see why it happens, what it happens. So it's similar in that way to the magic trick, but I'd be a very poor teacher if I stopped at that level, because the idea of science itself is to debunk this magic, right? To debunk the superstition. On the other hand, it should not destroy all sense of imagination and enchantment in the name of science, right? You don't have to. I'll give you another example of that as well. I mean, that's something that stayed with me for a very long time. Many years ago, I was out with a bunch of young students in a forest in Sakleshpur. It was very early in the morning, and so we were, it was really dark and the sky was just full of stars. Bangalore, we have destroyed our sense completely. The smog and the light pollution is there. Sky was full of stars, but you could also hear the insects early in the morning, 4 a.m., the particular cricket. And so we were walking, and the one child says to the other, "Hey, what's that noise?" And I was about to say it's cricket. The other child answers, "Oh, that's the sound of the stars twinkling." And I didn't open my mouth after that. I mean, why would I destroy that beautiful, it's poetry to say that, right?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.